been some technical difficulties coming through, but right now we have Unknown versus Inverse that are going to be taking each other on in the DPC South America Division 2. My name is Tim, aka Dktruman. I'll be bringing you this fun little shenanigan called Dota 2. Let's get this show on the road. Can we get an absolutely stellar performance to see who's going to be able to take the enemy down for, well, the count in that regard? We're only very early on in towards DP season. Of course, Unknown team, a very well-renowned team in the South American region. Have had some pretty decent results in the past, but both these teams survived for a little bit longer, primarily Peruvian players. A couple of them that you definitely would, of course, see and remember. Oh, a couple of new ones in the rosters as well. As we can see, the draft here: Io, Leshrac, Luna, Dawnbreaker, and Spiritbreaker. That means we got them 2 breakers in this game. Lesh probably mid, Io, Luna together, pause for Spiritbreaker with a Dawnbreaker offlane. Dawnbreaker offlane, always solid. Interesting to go for the Spiritbreaker last pick, though. Will be an interesting affair later down the line. But with the Medusa already picked up on the side of Inverse, Medusa is super solid, especially with the Ogre Magi. Ogre Magi, very tanky, can block off most of the attacks coming through. So that should be pretty A-okay. In that regard, and with the center, they also have a way of getting the Deuce out. So they got a buff with the Deusa. They got the Snapfire, of course, that can cookie the Deusa away. They've got the Mars to block everything off. Centaur Stampede from the Centaur. They've got a lot of ways to keep this Deusa alive in the game. However, it is interesting to see the Centaur being picked up. That means this is definitely going to be a Mars in the middle lane on the side of Inverse. Miggy going to pick that one up. I mean, super tanky lineup from him. I mean, they got 4 strength heroes plus a Deusa. Luna has one big problem, and that's tanky heroes are very hard to take down. Well, it's going to be a definite tough match. I mean, looking at it, both sides have tons of sustain. You got the Io Dawnbreaker on Unknown. They're going to go for sustain and healing, whereas their opponents, they're going to go for the sustain in, well, straight up having way more HP than their direct opponents. And the Ogre, as we can see, 5 wins, 5 MVPs in the last 20 matches. That's definitely not a bad score to witness.
The time for preparation is short. Use it wisely.
You precious weak thing. Blessings upon a loyal warrior.
To a future of grief.
Sorry for those Windows sounds. Everyone getting distracted in the process. And a smoke gang from Inverse already getting aggressive. A high position ward being placed. Smoke not being broken. Or actually the Deusa smoke got broken. So they might think that there's a ward over there. However, I don't necessarily know if the Dawnbreaker spotted him. But if they did see the smoke break, which I doubt, might actually expect a ward to be there, and then they try to counter ward on the other end. I forgot about one very crucial aspect, and that is gotta turn that mic on. I think that's the correct one. Sorry for these slight issues, but hopefully there will be no more issues going forward, and we can enjoy this game, this beauty of a game. I mean, you've got an Io Spiritbreaker support duo. That's just gonna be.
Of 10 people on the line. This is Dota.
Pretty. Actually, no, it's an offlane Bada,
It's all coming together.
which means this is a 5-position Dom Breaker, I think. Yeah, this should be a 5-position Dom Breaker guarding the Luna in the bottom lane. Okay. Or 4-position Dom Breaker. I think it's a 5-position Dom Breaker. I mean, the Dom Breaker in general is just stupidly strong in the laning stage. Most of the new heroes tend to be that case. I mean, Mars, even though we haven't seen it in pro matches because, well, it's not in Captain's mode yet, is definitely renowned to be an absolutely ridiculously strong hero in the laning stage.
I'll take that.
In a mid lane matchup between the Lesh and the Mars, Lesh doesn't really have much right-click damage, and the Mars has a lot of HP. Well, not yet, but with a bottle, a couple of extra items, maybe a bracer here and there. Doesn't die that easily to a Lesh. Okay, bash from the Bada. Way you want to play the game, RNG in your favor. Another bash, there we go. That's just perfect. Now the offlane Spirit Breaker, the Echo Saber, Silver Edge kind of build. Always superb. I'm actually wondering, because Armlet's like the item these days. It's stupidly OP. I'm really curious if you could possibly go for an Armlet Spirit Breaker. As you can see, pretty decent stats. Attack speed always nice. A lot of extra strength. Not too bad. I haven't seen one though yet, and I don't think I'll be seeing one this time because Echo Saber, it's like the king of items for Spirit Breakers and other heroes that are reliant on bashing their opponents. Think CK, think Slardar, where it's just get as many attacks in as possible on a hero that has incredibly slow attack speed. Charge stop, going for the Dusa underneath the tower. Dusa taking a decent chunk of damage, but how are you going to kill the Spirit Breaker in this lane? There's like really no way to easily kill him. You've got the IO backing him up with the headdress, healing self, tangos. He's going to be one buff, tanky boy.
Better my blade than theirs.
Well, currently farming is going pretty decent. Spirit Breaker cancels his charge. I mean, charging the Ogre, like, let's see. Ogre just barely has less HP than the Mars. Mars is 2 levels higher. Because Ogre's strength gain is still stupid. 3.3 on an int hero.
His family will understand.
Actually, at the start of the game, said that they had 4 strength heroes and Medusa, but I forgot that Ogre's an int hero. But yeah, I kind of count him as a strength hero because he's so bullishly strong. And Medusa, though, taking a lot of damage. While in the meantime, bottom lane,
first blood.
we'll find
Thanks and
ours,
have
and
fun.
who's had some struggles in this lane already with the Dawnbreaker's damage coming out and the Luna being able to spam away the Lucent Beam plus auto attack damage. Well, currently, they're all just farming away.
There is little hope for Dire's middle tower.
In a very solid fashion. Aggressive charge. The Eye, of course, got a healing self in case it's needed. Medusa's taking a lot of damage though, but luckily enough the Ogre comes in and it gets a little bit too dicey to continue. Healing self can't be used by Moonlight because he had a dot on him, but right now he could pop it, get that Spirit Breaker back to full HP, can go for another charge onto Dusa, and Dusa probably dies at that point. if the charge actually connects. But luckily enough, there is the Ogre. Hooking up the damage, gets bashed up in the process, taking a lot of damage. Will they be able to get the kill? Movement speed increased by the body block from Moonlight. Slaw's in trouble. He's an Ogre Magi. He's actually just an Ogre Magi. Oh, the bottom lane. It's gonna be feeling caught out. Cookie into Stomp. Do a lot of damage. It's actually a different build than you sometimes tend to see. I mean, there are two different solid builds on Snapfire. You've either got the Scatter Blast max level or you've got the Lil Shredder. And in this case, I guess they want to have more of that instantaneous damage, even though if you get on the Dusa, on top of the Dusa with the Lil Shredder, she does shred the pieces.
There is little hope for Radiant's middle tower.
Well, they're gonna go in onto the Centaur. Body blocks by Feeling. Arzent not very fast without his boots. Feeling could go for the stun, but they're not gonna chase for more because the Luna knows that it's gonna take quite some time to kill off the Centaur, and you probably miss an entire lane of creeps. A creep wave. So that would be slightly problematic, though currently it is an advantage in favor of Team Unknown. But they wait a little bit longer, take him down. Then afterwards, Adrian top lane, very low in HP, but the chase will not continue because the Ogre stops it from happening. But currently, all three lanes of Team Unknown winning. Plus side for Inverse is the fact that the Snapfire position 4 is pretty decently farmed, but this game is most of the time won by cores.
Radiant are scanning for enemies.
Nothing currently that top lane charge with that haste rune charging forward, gets himself a catch on Dawnbreaker, and Dawnbreaker will be finished off. Well, immediately the Luna disengages from the fight. They know a fight just happened bottom.
Dire structures are fortified.
And the Lesh knows the Mars isn't here, so tries to push the mid tier 1 tower with the Diabolic Edict, but Mars is a pretty fast boy.
Soak it in!
Does miss his spear though. But we'll at least be able to keep that tower alive for a little bit longer. Centaur now done with the Vanguard. He's going to be very hard to kill. But it seems they want to go in for the Centaur. Cookie stunned. Up stomp in. There's the turnaround. A lot of damage being dealt. Feeling falling back. I mean, Centaur with a Vanguard is incredibly tough to destroy. Adrian is just never dying for some reason. Will there be a bash? No, the stun from Slon. Any TPs to try and help out? No name, he really wants this kill. Adrian in on the retreat. There are TP. Only the Centaur has a TP. Now the Mars as well, but the charge will finish the job, and that's going to be the Dusa taken out. Bashes galore with the attack speed buff from the IO Slaw. We'll just have a very slow down. And Moonlight picks that one up. Yeah, top lane 100% won by the Radiant side. Constantly hunting for more. Centaur Stampede, Snapfire, the turnaround, Dawnbreaker, he's low in HP. There's going to be the control. Arsent, double edge. Takes down his opponent, but they will find the trade into Monty. Well, top lane, Medusa is being charged, but this time there is going to be a TP coming through. From the Ogre, will it be enough? No, Adrian, another strike. Oh, TPing in towards that top lane while you know you've just been destroyed behind your tower before. It's not great. Marina, catch on to 2, looking for a good spear, finds the spear breaker, relocate. Attempt, and he gets him away. Thank you very much. Io with the save. The rotation from the rest of Unknown. Make sure the Io stays alive. All about timing, though, with the Dawnbreaker and the Lesh here. They're gonna go aggressively on towards a charge for the Mars. Will he be able to kill? There is no arena, there's no spear, there's no mana. 7 magic wand, though. Slaw will be the one that will be found out in the end. Body block from Yayo. By the way, is
Your elements purged.
at least level 30 Io?
Dire's top tower is in danger. Dire's top tower has fallen.
Relocate, bottom lane, Mortimer's Gift says, will they be able to catch up to Mars? That's a Stampede, they turn around, they find a double. The Stampede, does it keep the Mars alive? Not really, because the charge from the Bara is a little bit too scary to handle. Charge forward, the Cookie doesn't get into the high ground. No, Bara doesn't have himself a bulldoze. I would think he'd be in trouble, but never mind, they just have too much damage with the Lash right behind them. Nether Strike, even on towards the Mars to interrupt the regen. That's just gonna cost No Name his life.
Radiant's bottom tower is in danger.
What a bounty!
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant have fortified their structures against attack.
Io not too surprising them for the Holy Locket first item. We're 2k ahead, well 1 to 2k ahead in the first 11 minutes of the game. It's
Fallen.
actually a lot closer considering how that laning stage went. Oh, Mars will be able to find a Dawnbreaker. Or will he? Oh, that was clutch on that Celestial Hammer. Actually leveled up the Celestial Hammer for the extra
Is now active.
cast range.
Radiant's bottom tower is in danger. Radiant's bottom
Lash
tower is under
Yule's
attack.
first item. Ogre, if he doesn't go hand to Midas, you know, it ain't worth it. That's what we want. Ooh, Dusa stacks. Triple stack of Ancients. Don't mind if Dusa do. I mean, he needs to catch up somehow towards that Luna. Because Luna in the early game is probably one of the strongest farmers. A couple of levels in Moonclaves and Luna Blessing. And Dusa can definitely catch up, but Dusa needs a little bit more time to really start farming, because level 1 split shot doesn't necessarily do that much. I mean, the earlier levels.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And glaive bouncing is very solid if you, for instance, hit a creep camp with 3 creeps. It keeps bouncing between them, whereas if you use split shot, you do hit all 3 at the same time.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
But 1 glaive hits 1 creep multiple times, if you've got a couple of levels, of course.
The Dire scan, on the hunt for Radiant forces.
Charge towards mid, the Deuce sets the target, pops the Stone Gaze immediately, but that's a very aggressive Dawnbreaker ulti though. And uses his like Celestial Hammer a little bit too soon, so an easy pickup for Team Inverse. Definitely some communication issues there. Expecting them to go for the fight, but honestly, if the Deuce pops her ulti, yeah, you just run away. And Inverse smoking up, but it was under ward vision, so the Radiant knows exactly what's coming their way. But the Luna is trying to farm up the Ancient stack, is gonna fall back so that doesn't get caught. Meantime, on the other side of the map, the Io Lesh are just farming together. Centaur, no blink just yet. He does have a lot of sustain. Mars is actually going for the blink right now. Mid-Mars, by the way, bottom of all the cores. Currently below a Spirit Breaker in farming. Well, we know Spirit Breaker is god-awful in farming. So find a way to catch up, either kills or farm up some jungle stacks. But the problem is you've got a Deuce on your side. You're not going to give away your stacks towards Mars. Both sides currently just content with farming. Although Lesh is going to go for the Eternal Shroud. Of course, they do have a decent amount of magic damage on the side of Inverse. And having that healing coming back is pretty nice. Great spear. Relocates wasted as well. And with one singular spear, that team fight attempt is over for the side of Team Unknown.
Is in danger.
Medusa is only 500 gold away from the Luna, so she's catching up pretty nicely. Luna going for the BKB. After Dragonlance, immediate BKB, that means you're not going to be that fastest in farming, but you're looking for fights. And honestly, of course, looking at the lineup of Inverse, you definitely don't want to take this game late if you're a Team Unknown.
Radiant should look to their middle tower.
I really do agree with the fact that they're just getting themselves that early BKB. Can take a fight right now, which would be a surprise for Team Inverse. You still have to be careful of the Stone Gaze, because that interrupts it massively. Blink in from the Centaur Stampede as well. They're trying to run away from the fray. Another strike, nice catch on towards the Mars, who still has the arena to catch enemies with, but the problem is there's no Dusa, so they won't have any damage regardless. They managed to find a kill. Did cost a lot on both sides. Eclipse, you've got the Nether Strike used, the ulti from the Dawnbreaker, all three ultis on the Radiant side. It is surprising that the Mars didn't decide to use his arena, even just to like give him a way out of the fray.
Dire should look to their top tower. Radiant should look to their middle tower.
Well, the mid-tier one does get secured,
Dire's top tower is under attack.
which is a pretty good way to open up the map with the bottom tier one also gone. And you can now roam in the enemy's jungle a little bit more aggressively. Otherwise, you'd always be fearful of that quick TP and then Spirit Break charging. And to be fair, most of the time you still have to be very wary. They've got Relocate, they've got Dawnbreaker, and they have Bara Charge. They've got pretty much global presence the entire time. That means Dusa needs to stay in areas where she doesn't get spotted, because one nasty relocate could be her downfall.
Radiant's bottom tower is in danger.
And is going for the eye, Scotty, knowing one very important fact against Team Unknown. As I mentioned previously, Team Inverse, very tanky in the fact that they just have really tanky heroes, strength heroes, and an Ogre and a Dusa who just don't die easily. On the side of Team Unknown, they are mainly, their sustain comes out from regen, which does mean that you're gonna need yourself some healing reduction. Spirit Breaker caught out, that's a big catch, plus some Courier Snipe.
Each brave career.
So the net worth now in favor of Team Inverse, and it's starting to look troubling. As mentioned, that Eye Scotty is very good against both the IO and the Dawnbreaker.
Radiant should look to their middle tower.
Well, currently farming is going pretty decent. Stun onto the Lash, gets surrounded. Ulti in though, heals him up, keeps him up. Jamak, they're gonna go for the focus. IO, meantime, they lose a 1-for-1 trade, but Lash keeps pumping up damage with his ulti. However, they're not really losing that much HP. The fight is being won currently by Inverse. Eclipse comes out, and Adrian needs to get back. Doesn't necessarily take that much damage. So 2 for 2 trade, but they did lose their mid and their off laner on the side of Inverse, and probably the tier 2 tower a top lane as well. Going back in, feeling, tries to get the catch onto the Dusa. Suns comes out. Great control, Dusa out of mana, Dusa in trouble. The Ogre can't really help his ally anymore, and that's a big, fat, juicy fight. Buyback was used by the IO. But all in all, definitely a wonderful fight for Team Unknown. It looked like it was going to head into Inverse's way, but once that Luna came in charging with that Eclipse, a lot of damage was able to be dealt.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire are scanning for enemies. Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Luna was so fairly close to use the spear. I thought maybe he'd go for the charge onto the Mars before he gets his BKB.
Double damage.
What's the Centaur just getting to? Okay. Wait, why did he send out the recipe instead of the Mithril Hammer then, though? Wouldn't it be better to have like an added 24 damage instead of your 2 healing cells?
This will provide.
Interesting choice. Oh, there we go. The Tumblers. Spirit Breaker getting smacked against the wall. Kill. He managed to take down the Spirit Breaker again, who does tend to die a decent amount. But again, it's a Spirit Breaker. It doesn't matter too much, even though it is an offlaner. As long as it isn't the Luna or the Lesh, they're not that bothered. Medusa though, Iascati done very tanky right now. Previous fight was already tanky, but picks it up a notch. Chop onto the Lesh. Stood under the tower very aggressively. Relocate is gonna mean the end of the IO. Tries to sprint away, but the problem is the moment they turn around.
Hello.
It's a right click for the
Thanks for
Dusa.
playing Dota
Thank you
2.
very much.
Double
Easy kill. Continues on. And Inverse look like they're in control. Meditative beeps. Yep.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures are
All bottom
fortified.
lane. Centaur, he's done with the pipe. So a lot of magic damage is at least going to get taken care of, which is problematic for the Lesh because he's pretty much only magic. Well, actually, I'm lying.
Tower is under attack.
Wait, Diabolic Edict is pure damage?
Tower is no more.
I swear I thought it was physical.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
When did it become pure? That's nuts. I haven't played Lesh that much as of late. The more you know. In towards the Roche pit they go. Jump in. Arena catch on to the Lesh. But he will to the next one. Big heal on the Lesh. Doesn't keep him alive though. In the pit. No name trying to run away. Luna's going to get stunned up. Luna's surrounded, and the Dusa will be able to find the first life. Luna, of course, does have an Eclipse once he comes back up. Top! Trying to get it done, but with the shard, Monty
Killing spree.
immediately stuns up
Ownage.
the Luna. And Luna is down for the count. Ogre on the side, stuns up the IO. They're going to chase down Moonlight. Crisis get himself back with the tether, but Big Cookie on a gigantic Mars will mean no chance for any continuation. While Adrian is already pushing them into two. He knows his objectives.
Tower is under attack.
Doesn't care about hunting down one stray IO. Because right now, you can just walk up the high ground. Or stay on the low ground and hit the high ground. Start pumping out damage. If he wants to. However, I guess it's a little bit spooked, even though the enemies don't really have that much that they can use currently. S and Y instead of the Manta style this game. Interesting choice. Status resistance is actually very solid, plus a little bit of extra HP. Smoke gag being used on the side of Unknown. They're going to go for the charge. They're the enemy's jungle. They can spot them out. Anyone else but Snap or the Dusa who's going to get charged first. Dusa's very tanky though. Can they stun lock her? It's going to be very tough. Dusa off the ulti. Stunned on the side of the Radiant. All of them in trouble. Lesh is going to get taken out. The chase for more. There's the spear. Arceus in trouble. The Luna does get the heal, but it's not anywhere close to enough. A big, gigantic fight. Charging from No Name. For some reason decides he wants to take the fight a couple of seconds afterwards, and he's just going to get smacked down. That's a 5-for-0 trade, and the Dusa is just too strong to handle. Team Unknown, their sustain is definitely inferior to the fact that Team Inverse just don't take damage. They spent out most of the spells on the Dusa, and she lost about half her mana. And then the rest of her team was behind it. I mean, look at the HP. 1800, 2200, 2k, 2.5k, well, pretty much 4k in that regard with the mana pool. On the other side, we've got 1800, 1600, almost 2k, 1800, and 1700. They don't have a single player on the side of Team Unknown over 2k HP. And Inverse only have one player under 2k HP. That's an Ogre, running around with 10 armor and a Glimmer.
Its top tower is under attack.
So yeah, game's pretty tough. Dusa is pretty fat. Titanic next is Silver Edge built up on the Dusa. You don't do that too often. You break that Spirit Breaker charge in. Arena comes out, wants to go for Moonlight, knows that the IO needs to die first in the fight. Luna is trying to keep the IO alive, but that's not going to be the case. Dusa charges forward as well with the Stone Gaze, who does tremendous amounts of damage. And Team Unknown on the retreat. Inverse absolutely destroying right now. 14k net worth advantage. Creeps are pushing out mid so they can walk up the high ground. Bottom lane, because first stop's already dead. Well, in the meantime, you have some split push coming out from the center, making sure the enemy's tier 2 tower top will fall and they can finish the job by securing megas.
Tower has fallen. Radiant's bottom barracks are under attack. Radiant's bottom barracks has fallen. Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Well, currently, the high ground push coming in. You do have a little bit of a defense attempt with the Split Earth, which of course, combined with that shard, does keep spreading out and further it goes. But a Silver Edge Dusa. Sneaky snack. Actual sneaky snack. Walking up the high ground, well smoked. Spot out the Lesh, won't be able to get the immediate jump. But Adrian just dodging the enemies. Via trying to focus down that tier 3. It should be doable, charge from the side, but what can you do? Dudes, Luna does have the Daedalus ready, but not the shard yet. Needs that shard. Try and bully from a range. Now the Shrek coming in on towards the Mars. Big heal attempt. Does keep the Shrek alive for quite some time, but there's the Dusa ulti, so you gotta be careful. Dusa doesn't have himself a BKB. He needs to be careful for all these Split Earth, but Feeling's already dead. Lesh is surrounded. No way to survive. Take that 2 kills. And they still have everything and everyone alive on the side of Inverse. Charge towards the center. Arena doesn't bloom up in time, but that's going to be a die back onto Feeling. While on the side, the Cookie won't be able to set up the Luna, but the Mars Spear does. Plus the center stomp on top. Spirit Breaker, he's in trouble. Everyone is down for the count, and that is indeed going to be Inverse. I assume just finishing up the Radiant base. And the GG gets called. The game gets secured. And that is Inverse with a 1-0 lead after the first map played. Well, looked very close for a very long time. Early laning stage went amazing for Unknown Team, but once the team fights came out, it really was just the fact that Dusa couldn't really die that much because they had like Centaur Stampede, they had the Arena to keep them off of her, they had the Ogre Magi to peel, they had the Cookie plus stun from the Snapfire to push them away. So in a sense, I mean, yeah, it was just waiting until the Dusa got strong enough, and then they just ran down every lane, shutting down Team Unknown, securing the opening map. But of course, that is only the first game of a best of 3. Can Unknown Team get themselves back in the fray and get themselves back on track? You'll have to wait and see for that one to transpire in the second map. So we'll see you guys then. We'll go to a short commercial break, and we'll be back in a bit.